Do not check the door again until you hear this. The lock may already be secure. The windows may already be closed. The people you love may already be safe. Yet something inside your body is still standing at attention, as though a threat has entered the room before any evidence has appeared. Chosen one, this is not fear being directed at you. This is protection being restored within you. You may have noticed it after the house became quiet. A sound outside seemed louder than it should. A message arrived later than expected. Someone you love did not answer, and your mind began building the scene. Is God warning me that something is about to happen to my home? A feeling can deserve attention without becoming a prophecy, and concern can ask you to verify something without demanding that you imagine the worst. God's protection does not need panic to prove that it is present. The real danger tonight may not be a person outside your house. It may be a pattern inside your mind that has made fear and discernment sound exactly alike. That pattern has 3 locks. The first lock is exhaustion. When you carry responsibility for too long, your mind keeps scanning even when no immediate threat exists. The second lock is repetition. Every time you check and feel brief relief, the mind learns to demand another check. The third lock is spiritual confusion. Fear begins using the language of urgency. Urgency begins impersonating wisdom. Hear this as a prayer, not as a prediction. Do not let fear impersonate my voice. Before this message ends, 3 things will become clear. You will understand why your body keeps sounding an alarm after practical danger has already been checked. You will also receive a process for protecting your home without surrendering the peace that belongs inside it. Here is the first truth. The harder you try to notice every possible threat, the more difficult it can become to recognize the one signal that actually matters. This is the protection paradox. More vigilance does not always create more protection. Beyond a certain point, it creates more noise. When every signal becomes urgent, no signal can be heard clearly, and the mind reacts to possibility as though it were already fact. This is why you have felt responsible and powerless at the same time. You were not failing to care. You were trying to protect everyone from a mind that had never been allowed to leave its post. There is a way back. Later, I will return to a discovery about the human mind that explains why guidance can be present while the receiver remains clouded. It connects spiritual sensitivity with research that most faith-centered messages never explain in this way. It helps reveal why knowing the truth has not always produced movement. For now, hold one question. What if your home does not need you to become more afraid? What if it needs you to become more clear? Right peace guards this house, if that is the decision you are making now. But do not leave after writing it. The next truth will show whether the feeling you carry is a practical warning, an old wound, or a false alarm created by exhaustion. The feeling begins before the thought. Your shoulders tighten, your breathing changes. Your attention moves toward the door, the window, or the phone. Then the mind arrives and gives the feeling a story. Maybe someone is outside. Maybe something is wrong. Maybe the silence means danger. Chosen one. This is where many people judge themselves. They think they are weak. They think their faith is failing. But intensity is not the same as truth. There is a pattern hiding beneath this experience. I call it the false alarm fog. It forms when responsibility, exhaustion, and unresolved fear overlap for too long, until the mind begins treating uncertain signals as urgent threats. You may check the lock once, then you check it again. The second check creates relief, but only for a moment. Soon the mind learns that checking is the only way to feel safe, so it sends another doubt and asks for the same action again. This does not mean you are careless. It means your inner alarm has become too sensitive. The same thing can happen within you. You begin looking at more, but you are seeing less clearly. This pattern may have protected you once, Perhaps you lived through instability. Perhaps someone failed to tell you the truth. That history matters. It explains your reaction, but it does not have to control your next decision. You are not broken. You are not spiritually blind. You may simply be using an old survival pattern inside a moment that requires present evidence. Nehemiah gives us a grounded picture of protection. He prayed. He placed guards where guards were needed. Then he continued the work. That balance matters. Peace does not ask you to ignore reality. It asks you to meet reality without adding a disaster that has not happened. Prayer without practical action can become avoidance. Practical action without peace can become captivity. Wise protection holds both, because faith and responsibility were never meant to fight each other. Here is the first tool. Use it whenever the alarm rises. Ask 3 questions. What evidence can I see right now? What is my body feeling right now? What safe action is actually required right now? If a door needs checking, check it once with full attention. If a device needs turning off, turn it off. If there is real evidence of danger, contact the proper help immediately. But when responsible action is complete, do not keep asking fear for permission to rest. Take a moment now. Feel your feet against the floor. Let your shoulders lower. Breathe out slowly. Look at 3 ordinary objects in the room and allow your eyes to confirm what is actually present. Then ask yourself one honest question. What is true in this room right now? What is true now? This is how the fog begins to clear. You do not fight every thought. You do not shame every feeling. You return to evidence, choose one wise action, and refuse to turn uncertainty into a prophecy. Each grounded response teaches your inner alarm that it no longer has to control the entire house. But there is another layer. What happens when the facts are clear, the door is secure, and your body still refuses to settle? Then the problem is no longer outside the door. The next truth explains how fear can borrow the language of discernment. Fear does not always sound frightened. Sometimes it speaks with such certainty that you assume the pressure itself must be guidance. Chosen one. This is where discernment becomes essential. A true warning points toward one responsible action. Fear creates 10 new questions after every answer. Discernment is specific. It may say, call this person, check this door, or postpone this decision. Fear is vague. It says something is wrong, but it refuses to tell you what evidence would ever be enough. There is another test. Discernment can accept confirmation. Fear keeps moving the standard. When one concern is answered, fear creates another, because its goal is not truth. Its goal is the brief relief that comes from one more check. This is the protection paradox. The harder you try to detect every possible threat, the harder it becomes to recognize the signal that actually matters. You are looking at more, but seeing less. Hear these words as a prayer, not a prediction. I did not give you vigilance, so fear could imprison you. Use this simple process when uncertainty rises. Pause, verify, proceed. These 3 movements can interrupt the cycle before fear turns a feeling into a command. Pause for 10 seconds when there is no immediate evidence of danger. Let the first wave pass without obeying it. Then verify. Look for one fact that exists outside your imagination. Evidence may confirm action, or it may reveal that the alarm came from within. Then proceed. Take the smallest responsible action that matches the evidence. Wisdom is often simple, while fear multiplies movement, because movement creates temporary relief. You may be thinking that you have tried this before. That does not mean every practice failed. It may mean the receiver remained crowded. There is something I want you to hold before we go deeper. Researchers studying how the human brain processes information found that clarity is not only about holding the right belief, it is also affected by the condition of the receiver carrying that belief. Their work connects to a Nobel Prize and to a capacity many people displayed naturally as children, but gradually lost as adults. It simply offers another way to understand why a sincere person can know what is true, yet still feel unable to move. For now, hold this question. What if the guidance was never absent, but the receiver had become crowded with interference? Think about your own experience. There are conversations where the right words disappear while fear supplies 100 wrong ones. But before you choose any explanation, notice the pattern. The issue may not be the absence of truth. The issue may be the state from which truth must be received. Right, I choose clarity over panic, if that is your decision now. Let those words become more than a comment. Let them mark the moment you stop treating every urgent feeling as a divine command. The next part will reveal why loving people often become trapped by responsibility. You will see how protection turns into control, and why releasing control does not mean abandoning the people or the home you were called to care for. You have been the person who remembers what everyone else forgets. You notice the open window. You check the stove. You send the message. You wait for the reply. And when everyone finally rests, your mind stays awake because it believes safety depends on you. Chosen one, this did not begin with control. It began with love. You cared deeply, so you learned to watch closely. But over time, love became mixed with fear, and responsibility slowly expanded into a burden no human being was meant to carry alone. I call this the burden transfer error. It happens when you take responsibility for outcomes that belong partly to other people, partly to time, and partly to God. You begin believing that if you stop watching, something will fall apart. That belief feels noble. It also keeps your body in constant tension. You may think rest is careless. You may feel guilty when you are not solving something. But responsibility and control are not the same. Responsibility asks, what is mine to do? Control asks, how can I guarantee what happens next? One question creates wise action. The other creates endless pressure. Picture 3 circles before you. The first circle is control. This includes locking the door, turning off an appliance, setting a boundary, and making a necessary call. The second circle is influence. You can advise someone, you can prepare them, you can ask for honesty, but you cannot force another person to listen, respond, or choose wisely. The third circle is surrender. This includes timing, other people's, decisions, unexpected events, and outcomes that no amount of checking can guarantee. These are the things fear keeps trying to drag back into your hands. A mother once stayed awake every night until her adult son returned home. One frightening event had taught her that sleep was dangerous. Her worry changed nothing outside the house. She created a clear agreement for communication. She chose what action to take if he did not respond. Then she stopped punishing herself with imagined scenes before evidence appeared. That is grounded protection. It has a plan. It also has an ending. Rest is not abandoning your post. Peace is not negligence. You can be attentive without becoming imprisoned by attention, and you can love someone without taking ownership of every outcome that may touch their life. Imagine an ordinary evening in your home. You check the door once. You place the phone down. A sound appears outside, but your body does not immediately freeze. You listen, you verify, you decide. Then you return to the room, to the people you love, and to the life that fear once kept interrupting. Your family notices the difference. The room becomes softer because the person setting its emotional rhythm is no longer preparing for disaster. This is a kind of safety no camera can create. A camera can show what is outside. It cannot teach the heart when to stop searching. A lock can secure an entrance. It cannot release a mind that believes every outcome belongs in its hands. There is still one question beneath all of this. Why can you understand these truths, agree with them, and still wake up inside the same fog? The next part answers that question. The problem may not be the absence of guidance. It may be the condition of the receiver trying to use it. You may already know what fear is doing. You may even know which action belongs to you. Yet when the moment arrives, your mind still feels slow, crowded, or strangely distant. You lose a word in the middle of a sentence. You open a task and suddenly feel tired. You move between several thoughts without completing one. During prayer, the truth feels near, but it does not seem to land. Chosen one, this does not automatically mean you are lazy. It does not prove that your gift is gone. It does not mean God withdrew guidance from you. There is another possibility. The guidance may be present while the receiver is overloaded. I call this the protected receiver. It is the state from which you receive, organize, and use what you know. When that state is crowded, even a clear truth can remain trapped as insight instead of becoming action. This can change how you remember your past. The years of fog do not prove that you became less worthy. You may have been trying to create movement from a state that was carrying too much noise. Many people remember being sharper as children. They learned quickly and imagined freely. That memory may point toward a real capacity, not a fantasy. Life added pressure. Habits changed. Responsibility increased. The mind adapted. But some adaptations came with a cost. Here is something you can do before reaching for any tool. Choose one decision that needs clarity today. Remove one source of noise for the next 24 hours. Then write 3 simple lines. Write what I know. Write what I fear. Write what I will do. Do not mix those lines together. Perhaps you have tried meditation, prayer journals, soundtracks, or other methods. You may feel tired of new promises. That resistance makes sense. Evaluate the mechanism, the source, and the risk with a clear mind. What comes next is not presented as a generic soundtrack. Its creators describe an approach based on synchronization. Why does knowing all of this still fail to produce movement? Why can you identify the fear, name the evidence, and understand responsibility, yet still wake inside the same fog? The answer is not another belief you must force yourself to accept. It concerns the condition from which your mind is trying to receive, decide, and act. And that is the loop we are about to close. Earlier, I asked you to hold a question. What if guidance was never absent, but the receiver had become crowded with interference? Now the shape of the problem is clear. A frightened mind treats possibility like fact. An exhausted mind gives every signal equal weight. A burdened mind tries to control outcomes that no person can guarantee. But a supported receiver can pause. It can separate evidence from imagination. It can recognize one responsible action without creating 10 more. Before we explore that support, remember this. No product can replace prayer, a working lock, a wise boundary, professional care, or emergency help when real evidence is present. A tool is only a tool. Your worth and faith do not depend on buying it. The next section explains one option that may support clarity. The clarity you have received is real, but clarity that never reaches action becomes another truth you carry without living. The mechanism is visible. The only question left is how you will support the receiver that must use it. Let us close the loop in plain language. Fear changes the state from which you interpret information. When the mind is overloaded, several signals can feel equally urgent, even when only one deserves action. That is why reassurance fades so quickly. You check one thing, feel relief, and soon need another check. The problem is not always missing truth. It is the condition trying to receive and use that truth. You need practical safety, emotional regulation, and a clear decision process. Sometimes, you may also choose a tool that supports a calmer mental state. You are the keeper of peace. You can remain awake without allowing panic to govern the house. The clarity you have received is real, but clarity that never reaches action becomes another truth you carry without living. The mechanism is visible. The only question left is how you will support the receiver that must use it. Earlier, I mentioned research connected to a Nobel Prize. I waited until now because a solution only makes sense after you understand the problem it is meant to address. Dr. Roger Sperry received the Nobel Prize in 1981 for research involving the divided functions of the brain. According to the product presentation, this work helped inspire an approach focused on how the two hemispheres communicate. The creators call the desired state whole brain activation. They say greater synchronization may support clearer thinking, creativity, and flow. Those are provider claims. A woman from California described years of prayer, journaling, and meditation. She believed the words, but said they did not feel real in daily life. After using the audio, she reported feeling clearer and more open. That experience is not a promise. A man from Texas described brain fog that had become normal. Decisions felt heavy, and his attention seemed divided. After using the program, he reported greater clarity and focus. This account is not a guaranteed result. A team led by Dr. Daniel Barone in New York created an 8-minute targeted auditory sequence. You use headphones, you relax, and listen once a day. They call it the genius switch. The creators describe it as neural sync technology designed to support hemisphere synchronization. They position it as a whole brain approach, not a meditation app, and not a generic soundtrack made only to change your mood. The genius switch does not require mantras, complicated breathing, or long daily sessions. It can be used beside prayer, meditation, or yoga, but none of those practices are required. The creators separate it from generic brainwave tracks. They say their sequence uses a layered synchronization process. Read the full explanation and decide whether that claim makes sense to you. This is not for everyone. It is for the chosen one who is ready to stop calling mental fog a character flaw, and who wants to evaluate a practical tool without confusing it with faith. Buying it does not prove spiritual maturity. The decision should come from clear evaluation, not pressure. The provider's presentation says colleagues valued the program at $500. It compares this with neurofeedback that may cost hundreds per session or thousands for home equipment. The listed price was $49. On the page described in the product file, an additional discount reduced it to $39. Prices can change, so check the current page before deciding. The purchase includes 4 digital bonuses. They are a guided visualization, a grocery shopping guide, a classic manifestation book, and a printable infographic about 5 habits for building an ideal future. The providers also state that buyers receive lifetime digital access and a money-back guarantee. Read the current terms carefully, because the provider controls the guarantee and its conditions. There is a cost to waiting, but it is not a prophecy of danger. Every week spent making decisions inside constant fog is another week in which fear may receive more authority than evidence. The $39 price is not guaranteed beyond the current page. That is a pricing fact to verify, not a reason to panic. One warning matters. The product file says the official program is not distributed through Amazon, Spotify, or generic public audio pages. Tracks with similar names may not contain the same material. The official page is linked in the description and the pinned comment. Review the mechanism, price, bonuses, and guarantee before deciding. If your spirit resonates with what has been described, that page is available below. No tool can replace God, obedience, wise action, or practical protection. A tool may support clarity. The deeper responsibility still belongs to the heart that must choose what to do with that clarity. A tool does not replace God. It does not replace prayer, wise boundaries, a working lock, professional help, or emergency action when real evidence is present. What was described is only one optional way to support clarity. The deeper work remains the same. You must learn to live awake without living afraid. Notice what is real, act when needed, and refuse to let panic govern your home. Chosen one, you may still feel skeptical. That is healthy. You do not need to accept every claim because it sounds hopeful. Read the official page, study the mechanism, review the guarantee. Then decide from a clear mind. Results can differ from person to person. A testimonial is an experience, not a promise. A product can support a process, but it cannot replace your judgment, your responsibility, or the practical steps that keep a household safe. You may also feel unworthy of clarity. Perhaps you believe peace belongs to people with stronger faith, better discipline, or fewer mistakes. That belief is false. Clarity is not a reward for perfection. You are not broken because your mind became tired. You are not rejected because your attention became scattered. You are not less loved because fear found a place inside your habits. And you do not need to purchase anything to prove your faith. The truth you have received remains yours. The tools from earlier remain yours. Pause, verify, proceed. Separate what you know from what you fear. Now imagine a morning in the near future. You open your eyes, and your mind does not immediately divide itself among 20 warnings. The room is quiet, and quiet no longer feels suspicious. You remember the one task that matters most. You complete it before noise takes over. A difficult conversation appears, but you do not rehearse every possible disaster before speaking. You listen, you answer, you remain present. Later, an opportunity appears in an ordinary form. It may be a message, an idea, or a simple decision. This time, the fog does not hide it beneath 100 competing thoughts. You remember the sharpness you once carried. You do not force it. You simply notice that more of your attention is available, and more of your energy can move in one direction. The home begins to feel different, not because every risk has disappeared, but because the person setting its emotional rhythm is no longer preparing for disaster all day. Peace enters your voice. It enters your timing. It enters the way you respond when someone you love is late, quiet, or uncertain. That is the future you are building. It is not careless. It is clear. If what was described earlier fits a need you recognize, review the official page before you leave. The link is in the description and the pinned comment. Read everything before making a decision. Do not act because this title created fear. Do not act because someone told you that your home depends on a purchase. It does not. Act only if the mechanism, the terms, and the guarantee make sense to you. Let clarity carry you toward the decision that clarity supports. The next truth goes deeper than any tool. It concerns the part of protection that cannot be purchased, scheduled, or controlled. You must learn where your responsibility ends. Until you do, fear will keep placing every possible outcome back into your hands. There is a burden you were never meant to carry. It is the belief that love requires you to control every outcome. You feel it when someone leaves the house. You feel it when a message remains unanswered. You feel it when the night becomes quiet, and your mind begins creating scenes you cannot verify. Chosen one, control is not the highest form of care. Sometimes control is fear, trying to prevent an old pain from returning. You may have learned this after loss or instability. Your mind made a private promise. It said, "I will never be unprepared again." That promise helped you survive. But now it asks for something impossible. It asks you to predict every danger, manage every person, and guarantee every result. This is the burden transfer error. You have taken outcomes that belong to time, to other people, and to God, then placed them inside your own hands. The first step is to separate responsibility from control. There are things you can control. You can lock the door. You can replace a broken alarm. You can make a call. You can set a boundary. You can ask for help when evidence requires it. There are things you can influence. You can offer advice and ask for honesty, but you cannot force another person to listen or choose wisely. Then there are things you must surrender. You cannot control timing. You cannot remove every risk. You cannot guarantee that every person you love will always make the choice you would make. Take a slow breath now. Place both feet on the floor. Let your eyes notice the room as it is, not as fear imagines it. Picture your home surrounded by warm light. This is not a promise that nothing difficult will ever happen. It is an image of order, peace, and clear responsibility. See the front door. Place beside it every action that truly belongs to you. The lock, the call, the boundary, the plan. Let those actions remain there. Now, see the room where the people you love are gathered. Place there the care you can offer, the truth you can speak, and the support you can give. Do not place their choices in your hands. They do not belong there. Finally, see one quiet room at the end of the house. Place inside it every result you cannot command, the timing, the unknown, the future, the response of another person. Then close that door gently, not in denial, in surrender. Place one hand over your chest. Say these words slowly. I will act where action is mine. I will release what is not. Peace will not make me careless. Fear will not make me wise. Notice what happens in your body. The burden may not disappear at once, but your hands no longer need to grip it in the same way. You are allowed to rest after responsible action is complete. You are allowed to love people without controlling their path. Write, I release what I cannot control. Let those words mark the boundary between devotion and fear. The danger was never a prophecy of destruction. The warning was about what happens when fear becomes the ruler of the house. Now one final truth remains. Peace does not weaken protection. Peace restores the mind that protection requires. The message is now complete. The danger in the title was never confirmed as a physical event waiting outside your door. The warning is simpler, and it is more useful. Do not let fear make decisions for your household. Do not call repeated checking discernment. Do not give panic authority after responsible action is complete. God has not abandoned your home. Fear may have clouded the way you interpret what happens inside it, but clarity can return. As clarity returns, protection becomes calmer. It becomes wiser. It becomes grounded in evidence, responsibility, and peace. Before you sleep tonight, follow one final sequence. Check the doors and necessary devices, one time, with full attention. Write down one concern that can be handled tomorrow. Ask whether there is evidence of immediate danger. If there is, contact the proper help. If there is not, breathe slowly and release the need for absolute certainty. You do not need to check again just to make fear quiet for another minute. You have already answered the practical question. Now, let us pray. God, bring peace into this home. Give wisdom to every person who lives here. Help us recognize real danger without creating danger inside our minds. Guide our hands toward responsible action. Teach us to set wise boundaries. Give us courage to ask for help when help is needed. Release us from fear-based vigilance. Restore rest where tension has lived. Restore clarity where confusion has grown. Protect the people we love as they leave and return. Hold what we cannot control. Remind us that responsibility has limits, but your presence does not. Let peace guard this house, and let wisdom guide the hands within it. Chosen one, receive this declaration slowly. I am not ruled by imagined danger. I am awake, but I am not afraid. I act when action is mine. I release what belongs to God. I protect this home with wisdom. I welcome peace without surrendering discernment. My mind is becoming clearer. My home will not be governed by panic. You are not required to predict every outcome. You are not required to carry every person. You are not required to remain tense in order to prove that you care. Your task is to notice what is real. Your task is to do what is yours. Your task is to release what no human hand can guarantee. If this prayer speaks for your home, write, peace guards this house. Let that declaration become a boundary against the old cycle. Share this message with someone who has been carrying the safety of an entire family inside one exhausted mind. Remember what you learned. A true warning leads toward clear action. Fear creates endless questions. Wisdom has an ending. Check what is real. Do what is yours. Let peace remain in the house.